everyone, and welcome back to A Theater Near You. I'm your host, Chris Randazzo, and I'm joined this evening, as always, by fast-acting murder cleanser, Paul Giroux.
Corn nuts.
And open-door asshole policy, Sean Doyle.
It's going to be so real.
It's really going to be very.
It's really going to be very. That's it.
This month's letter was H, and we landed on Sean's pick, Heathers. Does this twisted dark comedy still kill today? Let's find out. But first, how you fellas doing?
We were just talking about some things while you were up getting water. That's right. I'm here.
Oh, it's live, baby.
Yeah, all three of us are here.
Fuck
in
it,
the room.
we'll do it live.
So
with
if this
these
sounds
two.
terrible, it's because we're all in the same room.
It's because we're all here. But
Yep.
yeah, we were talking when you went upstairs.
It's us.
There's I think we have some questions about future letters, but also we were talking about summer blockbuster movies, specifically Independence Day.
You say
Okay,
we have
yep.
questions about future letters? Because that makes me think that either you and I don't understand the alphabet and the order that it goes through, despite having done this
That
already.
I think that someday more letters will
or
be
that.
added
That's
to
the other option,
alphabet.
right?
like a X with like a weird little curlicue thingy, and it's called like Zorflam or something.
What are we choosing for the letter Epsilon?
Yeah.
That was a bitch. But wait, what were you saying about summer blockbusters?
I was just you guys were talking about Independence Day, and I was just gonna say that is one of the most vivid memories I have of a summer blockbuster. Because like, when did that movie come out? It was
96?
I want to say 94.
I mean, like, I think at that time in my, so what, I would have been like 13 or something. Like, I think that was a time that I was realizing that, oh, movies come out in the summer that are marketed in a way that it's like, come see this.
96.
We were down at the beach, like we were down in Ocean City, and you know, normally you're at the beach doing beach things, but I think we were beaching it all day, and it was like, well, what do you want to do? You know, like, we go see a movie, and like we packed into this little movie theater right on the boardwalk. You know, and I literally think every seat in that house was packed for Independence Day. And I just remember, like that was the first time just being... and, like, I think we saw it on 4th of July. Like, it was on 4th of July, and it was called Independence Day, and it was about fighting our liberating battle from alien oppressors. And I just remember walking out of that movie theater into the, like, beautiful open air of the beach and just being like, this is life, man. Like that is one of the like cornerstone memories I have of like defining blockbuster movies. It's Independence Day.
I agree. I think when I think like, what movies did I go see, and I was like, that's how you see a movie. This is the movie theater experience right here. And I think that's got to be number one. I mean, Jurassic Park was up there. I remember walking out of that being wowed. But Independence Day, at least 2, if not 3 points during that movie, I shit you not, the entire audience clapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was the last time you went to a theater and the audience clapped, let alone at the end? Everybody just started clapping after the speech, which is the middle of the movie.
I was just about to say that. I know that one of those times must have been Bill Pullman's speech.
Oh, yeah. And I was one of them. I was clapping, but there's a whole theater. And, like, for a moment in the back of my head, I'm like, we all know this is recorded, right? Like, he can't hear us.
Star Wars, that happened to me. Anytime I went to go see a Star Wars movie, there was always, like, an applause. Like, whenever the Death Star explodes, there's always an applause. Whenever the big thing exploded, that happened with all the Star Wars movies. The movie theater experience for me is actually pretty different, right? Because I loved seeing Independence Day and Jurassic Park. Those are two of those blockbustery kind of things. But the best movie theater experience I ever had was South Park.
What?
I have never in my life...
Did I see that with you?
Possibly.
I think we saw that together.
Everyone was crying hysterically in that movie. And it was like, it was a theater full of people that were there for that specific kind of humor. And like, none of us knew it was a musical. So when it started being a musical and like Uncle Fucker comes on, everyone in the theater is just absolutely rolling. The whole theater. I've never been around that many people laughing that hard in my entire life. It was obviously, like, the big action movie theater set piece thing is super amazing. There will Endgame. There's another applause moment right there when he Avengers assemble,
when he picks up the hammer.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Right.
I will never forget that. That was one of the most amazing theater experiences ever. But yeah, for me, it was that South Park movie. Laughing so hard with so many like-minded assholes.
The
It was so
South
great.
Park movie story reminds me of Beavis and Butthead, and I don't know if one of you fucks wasn't with me, but
I definitely saw it in theaters, so
I went to the
with you.
theater, probably opening weekend. It had to be opening weekend. We got our tickets over at Town 16. I think it was like me, Joe Charles. Maybe it was like, might have been Dan Miguel, me, and Joe Charles. I don't remember, but there was 4 of us. And we got our tickets, but then we dicked around. And then we went in, and this is way before there was assigned seating. And the place, there was no seats. People bought tickets for other things and came into there. So now there's no seats. And we're like, fuck that, we're watching this. We went to the front of the theater and laid down on the floor and stared up at the screen almost directly above us. And then, of course, it opens up with like them coming out as like Godzilla. I think that's how it opens. That's definitely a scene in it.
God,
I was like, I guess this is how you
long.
watch this movie from underneath. This is just panning out.
I don't remember seeing the Beavis and Butthead movie in theaters. I do remember seeing South Park with you, Chris, because you know what? I feel like that's part of a long string of movies I remember seeing with you, some being failures and some being successes. And yeah, like I remember South Park. I think I was at kind of a low point before we walked into that movie, and then I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is changing my life, this movie.
So funny.
But yeah, I remember, Chris, we saw X-Men together, and I remember that being not great. That like they kept opening the doors and the light from the sun would flood the screen.
That's right.
And then I remember we were sitting next to this little kid that would not shut up.
Right.
He was like, "Daddy, is that the X-Man? Is that the X-Man, Daddy?" I'm like, "Oh God, this kid! I'm gonna kill him."
I remember your story about seeing Castaway.
Did I tell you guys? I don't remember what stories I've told on this podcast and what I haven't. But did I tell you guys my story about the Sixth Sense?
Doesn't sound
I
familiar.
don't remember it.
Okay, so I didn't see this with you guys. I saw it with a former girlfriend. Let's not name them, but they were.
No,
they
let's
were
name her. Belinda. Belinda was her name.
They were in college somewhere in North Jersey. I was in Maryland. So we decided we were going to meet in the middle in Philly and see, and like spend time together, but also that's when we saw a movie. So now I live in Philly, but like at the time I was just visiting Philly, and the movie theater that we saw it at, it's not there anymore. It was on Chestnut Street. I remember going to this movie theater, and so we sat pretty close to the back. There's only a couple people behind us, but there was one guy directly behind us. And every time something scary happened, this guy would audibly react. So like somebody walks by with like half a head, he'd be like, "Damn," or like, I don't know. There's a one point where like I think the kid is in the bathroom and like this ghost like wipes the screen. It's kind of a scary jump scare noise, and a ghost comes by, and this guy's like, "Damn, damn." So like he would do this over and over, and then the movie ends.
And it turns out it was Wilford Brimley the whole time.
I mean, spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. If you have like, I don't feel bad about spoiling The Sixth Sense. It's like a 20-year-old movie.
It's 20
like,
years.
You should have seen it, right? But so this twist is revealed. The credits end, or the credits roll. This man is completely silent. He stands up and he takes a second, and then he goes, "I don't appreciate this movie fucking with my mind." He turns and walks out of the theater. And I went, I will remember this. When I think of this movie, I will remember this moment always.
He turned and walked out of your life forever.
Yeah.
But he is not forgotten.
I can't tell you how many times, like, I told Karen the story of you seeing Castaway, and I don't know why that just stuck with us. Like, we quote that all the time. Oh, I get it. He's crazy.
He lost his mind.
All the time. That still comes up.
Well, there was the Castaway thing, but then I thought I also had a pretty good Titanic story, which I saw Titanic with Kim Upholstery.
That can't be the right name. Upholstery?
Up Schulte?
Yeah. I saw Titanic with her, and she was like, Titanic. Like, she was like, I'm going to like, she's like, I've seen this 6 times, and this is the greatest movie that ever was. And I was like, all right, I think I know what's going to happen. The boat will sink.
Man, it would have been a hell of an ending if it hadn't.
Yeah,
Everyone would have been blown away.
But so, like, I think I kind of already had this, like, taste in my mouth about, like, all right, this is a chick flick, and people are here for Leonardo DiCaprio and for the gushy love stuff, right? So I sat quietly through the movie. I was pretty respectful. I think every now and then I would make a comment, and she'd be like, "Shh, stop, shh, watching this." Right? And then the boat floods, the boat sinks, everybody's scrambling for these, spoiler alert, everybody's scrambling for these, lifeboats and whatever, right? And then it was right after the scene where he sinks into the water, right? Where there was clearly enough
room for him to get on there, yeah.
On that door or whatever it was for him to climb aboard, and it's like he was like, "No, I'm gonna die now," and people in this movie theater are sobbing, and I'm like, he could have climbed on that door. Like, what is going on, right? So everybody's crying. I'm kind of like looking around, like, am I crazy? And then the next thing that happens, like, it's just silence. It's silence, and it's like somebody's like rowing through the water looking for survivors, and it's silence, and I just hear sobs. It's silence, and then you hear a whistle. This person blows a whistle, and I go, all right, everybody out of the pool. Some people turn around, they're, shut up, asshole, I'm here to see this movie. So that's my Titanic story. And to our listeners, I'm sorry if I've told any of these are the cornerstones of my movie going life, so I carry these things with me.
You mentioned The Sixth Sense, and this is not my story. This was Joe Podusky's story. Anytime he brought up that movie, he was furious because his mom is not unlike my mom, or I don't know if you're just kind of very happy, and they talk and they say things, right? He went to see that movie with his mother, and 3 minutes in, she's like, So I don't understand. So is Bruce Willis dead? Is that what's happening? And Joe was like, no. And then the whole movie was like, oh shit, that was it. That's what happened. Like it was just ruined for him. She just ruined it out to get. I don't understand. Is he dead? Is that what this is? He's dead now.
That's outstanding.
There are certain gimmicks in movies, and I think Fight Club and Sixth Sense are two of the things that sort of defined this whole thing. But now, anytime I'm watching a TV show or a movie where there's a character you're not totally getting, and then only one person is conversing with them, I'm like, he's not there. He's not really there. That person's not there. Like, there was some show on Apple TV I started watching, and it looked semi-interesting. But like one episode in, I'm like, nobody else sees this guy. Nobody else can see him.
Wait a second. Was Christian Slater there?
On Apple TV? In what?
In Heathers.
Was he really there?
Yes, he was really there.
Other people acknowledged
the
him.
2 jocks
Certainly.
that he pulled the gun on.
Yeah. That's right.
Yep.
Thought this was going to have a whole nother take for a second there. This movie's way better than I thought.
Layers on layers on layers.
You talking about the ending of Titanic just brought up a source of anger for me with the show Lost. So you remember when Charlie died on Lost? Not to go off on too much of a tirade, but you remember which one the Hobbit guy.
I remember Charlie.
I remember.
Yeah. And like
It was at the end of season 3, the Not Penny's boat.
Not Penny's boat, right?
Yeah.
Wait, how did he die? It's been a long time. I watched the show, but it's been a long
They're
time.
in.
If you haven't seen Lost, skip ahead like 3 minutes. But
We'll be on this for an hour.
They're in this enormous underwater base. An enormous underwater base, right? Big room, a high ceiling, huge room. There's another room next to that room, right?
He has to go in a room and put in a code into the computer to shut down the thing that's blocking the thing where they can't broadcast off the island. And it's revealed only he can do this thing in this room because the code is musical. It is, it's a numerical keypad, but it's Good Vibrations, I think. Good Vibrations.
Sounds familiar.
By the Beach Boys. So he goes in there to do this, and then while he's in there, the guy that they thought they just killed, the one guy, he's got the eye patch, he lobs a grenade at the window, or something explodes with this window and water comes rushing in.
Oh yeah.
And I think what Chris is going to say
rushing is a harsh word. There's a hole in the wall. Like, this whole thing's underwater, right? So the hole that gets blown to the wall is approximately this big, right? About the size of a bowling ball or a football,
okay, yeah.
right? It would have taken days to flood that entire thing with that hole in the wall. Days. But Charlie was like, no, I have to save everybody from the rushing water. So he closes the door to the tiny room that he's in and drowns. Instead of closing the door on the other side, or even just leaving the door open and letting the water slowly rush in, finish doing what he's doing, and then they could casually meander out of there.
And while he's locked in the room, he knows that he's eliminated the signal blocking because another broadcast comes in and it's Penny, and that's how he knows that it's not Penny's boat. So he has to write on his hand and puts it up to the glass, and it says not Penny's boat, so that Desmond knows that the people on the freighter are bad.
But just open the door. Everyone would be fine. Eventually the place would fill up with water, but you got plenty of time to slowly
and
walk.
Based on what you've just said, and I should go watch it again, I guess.
Should you?
I don't know.
I rewatched it
Dynamics.
all a year
Dynamics, which I love. I think that dictates that it's actually fluid dynamics. That doesn't matter. If there's a hole in the side, it won't fill up. It'll only fill up to the hole.
To the hole. That's another good point.
And then the water stops coming in. Because that's how physics works.
I forgot that you were an expert in fluid dynamics.
Oh, I'm trying.
Or that you want to be.
I want to be.
Yeah.
That's not actually what that is. But it doesn't matter. It's still good physics that if the holes in the wall, that's how high the water goes.
There's fluid involved, and it sounds dynamic.
Sure.
Fluid dynamics. Good enough for me. Good enough.
So, can I say the other thing that I was going to say?
About the alphabet?
About the alphabet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we're just talking the alphabet.
So
It's the letter. It's the letter. It's the letter of the day.
Our letter's great, guys.
There are too many letters. Please eliminate 3. I am not a crackpot.
Dear Mr. President, there are too many states nowadays. Please eliminate 3. I am not a crackpot.
Yeah, so I don't want us to start saying our picks before, letters and letters in advance. But if in an upcoming letter, that we're going to get to in the next 3 months, let's say.
Okay.
You're being very presumptive about which letter. if in the next couple of months we get to a letter and I want to play my marathon card, how do I do that? Because I think
we have a marathon card.
I think we established this in the rules of the last 26 letters.
Oh,
that once every 26 letters, Paul gets to play a marathon card.
Twice. There was a Rocky marathon and a Fast and Furious marathon.
I I only facilitated the Rocky Marathon.
Fast and Furious was an unofficial marathon.
It
Right.
was.
You just do it. You just play your card.
Yeah, just play it whenever you want.
But do we have to pick my letter, or can my pick be a marathon?
Now I'm thinking JKL, and I've only got.
I think your pick can be a marathon.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like the rules aren't we pick my letter and then I play the card. It's I can play the card when I do the pick.
And I'd argue if we don't pick yours, you still have the card. You get your card back.
Okay.
We didn't do it.
If we don't pick my letter, then I get to play the card another day. Okay. Cool.
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 Well, I'm ready for another marathon day.
Oh, I'd love to do another marathon day.
Especially in the dead of summer when the summer starts, it's so nice. You're like, the fucking summer's here. I've been hating the winter. It's time to do this. And then by the time you're in like the end of July, you're like, it's hot out, man. I need a day. I need a minute.
I love a marathon. Surprised
Sitting
not
in
doing a marathon right now.
I'd have a puffers.
I'd have a beer. All right. I missed that show so
We
much.
should start recording.
Test.
Everybody clap. Oh, I have an unrelated to this podcast thing that I'm going to say.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Doing it. I just recently discovered that my favorite video game series is all of the titles are songs by Queen.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. And then I was like, what the hell is wrong with Queen that they're naming their song these weird-ass things? And then I went and looked at their other song titles, and Queen was just naming their songs all kinds of wild-ass shit. They are all over the place. They were just like, fuck you guys, we'll do our own thing. And then some of their songs that have wild names, I'm like, this just sounds like video game music at the beginning. Go listen to the Fairy Feller's Master Stroke. Like, that's a Queen song. And when you put it on, you're like, this is the beginning to a Nintendo video game. I am freaking sure of it.
It's pretty weird. Because the series is Ogre Battle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
I
it's
don't know
like,
this.
there really isn't much of a connection between that game. When you look at Ogre Battle, you don't think Queen music.
No.
And yet, there's that
it's like
connection.
a bunch of goblins and orcs fighting a bunch of humans and hawk people or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a strategy game for really, really nerdy people. But like the subtitle, Ogre Battle is the name of a Queen song. That's the overall title. But then all the subplots is like March of the Black Queen. That's a Queen song.
Person of lordly caliber.
Queen song.
So wait, I think I need more context. Is the Queen music in the video game
No.
series?
Nope, just the names.
No relation whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
It's just this weird thing that's there for
The
some
guy
reason.
who did this, and he did one of those things where he starts with Chapter 5. Fuck you! Fuck you!
I mean, I
Just
think
start at the beginning, asshole!
I think that's a flaw because I think, as we've seen, if you put Queen music in something, it becomes epic,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
Flash
but then you
Gordon
gotta pay for it.
or Highlander.
And the first game came out on like Super Nintendo. I don't know how well they were translating actual songs to.
Have you ever played Journey Escape for Atari 2600? Because you haven't lived until you've heard Don't Stop Believin' coming out of an Atari 2600. Let me tell you what.
All right, I stand corrected. Apparently, they could just do it.
Here we are, born to be king.
There's a
words.
game that came
There's
out
no
recently
words. It's not possible.
I am immortal.
called Air Twister.
Inside me, blood of
And this game really wanted its soundtrack to be Queen, but they didn't get Queen. But whoever they got is this weird, like, store brand Queen. The soundtrack is
not a thing.
unbelievably bad. And you can tell specifically which Queen songs they're ripping off as they're doing it. It is horrendous. It's called Air Twister. I highly recommend looking it up.
You play that game and you just put on Queen music.
All right, so that was your contribution.
Yeah, just something that struck me.
All right.
Is Air Twister?
No, this is Don't Stop Believin'.
Don't Stop Believing's not by Queen.
This is Journey Escape.
No.
That's as far as it goes. It just loops that over and over again. It's the beginning of Don't Stop Believin'.
Oh, I
You're welcome.
Now you've all heard it. You can't unhear it.
I guess all I was gonna report to the group as far as what's happened since we all last saw each other is I got a dog.
Hey,
did,
yes.
that's fun.
Yep. His name is Beans.
Why wouldn't it be?
Well, actually, when I adopted him, his name was Calvin, but none of us liked Calvin, so his name is Beans.
Beans is a good name.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, he's great. He's very he's really very he's very sweet. He is pretty like excitable and agile, but like he's chill. Like you go on walks, he doesn't tug. He's got a lot of energy, but he doesn't seem to know how to play. And he loves having his belly rubbed. Like I get home and he's just like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got you." And he's like, "You mean this?" I'm like, "All right." So yeah, he's super cool. He sleeps in the closet. He's made a little den in the closet. It's kind of weird. And the only thing that he's done that was like not cool was on Mother's Day, my whole family was over, and my dad brought out a cake and put it on the table, and it said "Happy Mother's Day." And I thought he had a cover on it, although I can't blame my dad. Like the table's where you put food.
Sure.
But he put the cake down, and we were all in the other room, and I went back, and the dog had gotten on the table and licked the icing off half the cake. So it's like, said like, pee-pee hers a. It no longer said Happy Mother's Day. And I said, all right, we've learned a valuable lesson about this dog today. And then I tried to salvage what part of the cake I could. And
You just don't tell anybody what happened. You cut slices from the other. I'll serve the cake. I'll serve the cake from the kitchen. You guys, moms, you just take it easy. This is your day.
yeah, nothing to see here.
Bring out
folks.
very small slices, the salvageable portion.
I ate the happy part. Here's the rest of it for you.
I actually went to the theater with my kids on Star Wars Day on May 4th. We went to go see Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I can confirm it is not a very good movie. I love it. I love that movie. But
There's lots of great parts.
there are great parts in it, and it was so worth it for those great parts. Like sitting through some of the boring stuff and Jar Jar, which is just terrible, was so worth it for like seeing the pod race on the big screen again.
Pod race was great.
And like the kids were into it. The kids really enjoyed the movie. But specifically, I sat next to Ellie. And I forgot. First off, it had been like a while since she'd seen this movie, so she didn't have any real memory of it at all. Nor did she have any memory of Darth Maul, which I thought was interesting. Because I forgot that you don't see Darth Maul without his hood on for the entire movie until the end. So I'm waiting the entire time for Duel of Fates, right? When that door opens, dun, dun, and like, we'll handle this. That's like one of those theater moments, you know? Like, I remember being in the theater for Episode 1 on opening night, and there was, of course, there was an air of disappointment from certain people in the audience, but everyone was on the edge of their seat when that door opened up. That shit was amazing. And I was waiting for that moment with Ellie because I knew she was going to think it was exciting. And she did. She sat up. But I wasn't prepared for her seeing him without his hood off, because as soon as he took his hood back, she audibly went, "Oh God!" I was like, "Yes, that was the ticket price right there." That moment, she was so into it from that point on. And when we got home, she dug out the old lightsaber toys that we got her and John when they were younger, and was just playing with lightsabers for the rest of the day. So it was so cool.
That's awesome.
I'm so glad we went to go do that, because it was cheap tickets. It was like discount ticket day, so it was like under $40 for all four of us to get in there and go see the movie. It was outstanding. Couldn't be happier. I mean, I guess I could be happier if it was a better Star Wars movie, but still, if you're gonna see, like, I'm not going back to the theater for Attack of the Clones. I'm not going back for Revenge of the Sith. I'd go back for any of the rest of them, honestly. But Episode 1, because of like the pod race, Duel of Fates, and that spot in the desert where Darth Maul's just like comes out of nowhere. I love that spot because he doesn't know who Anakin is at that point. He's just like, "Oh, a kid. I'm gonna run him over." Just zoom. It's Anakin drop. Like, why did he have to duck? Because this guy's an asshole. And he was like, "A kid. I'm gonna run over it." Like, no clue, no connection to him at all. Just let me commit some real quick murder on my way to kill this Jedi. Good times.
Maybe episode 1 could have been made better by a soundtrack from Queen.
Oh my God.
It wouldn't have hurt.
Lisa here, born. I am a gunkin. I have inside me purple goo. I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm singing, guys. We can talk about the movie if you want.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Heathers. We watched it last night. Sean, Greg, Melissa, Karen, and myself. We watched this at our house via nefarious means. Karen brought off-brand corn nuts and made some kind of blue drink that I'm sure Sean can explain better than me.
Oh, well, she was leaning into the blue curacao so we could all drink some all-purpose drain cleaner. I think she used like some cream of coconut and I don't know, maybe a vodka or a rum in there or something. I don't know. It was good. It was tasty. It was very tropically. Something you'd want on a beach day, but it was on point for the blue liquid. And she served it to us lovingly in coffee cups.
Wow.
She was on it.
Yeah, she put some
She
thought
brought
into
the
it this
noise.
time
I
around.
take it that Karen was a fan before. you
Yes,
watched
she
it.
knew this movie well before we
Okay.
watched it.
All right.
I had no clue about this
Okay.
movie.
I
Clearly
not,
had no idea.
I had not seen this movie in like 20 years.
Samesies.
And the only reason I know I saw it is because I vividly remembered the end. So it kind of took away from like, it was almost a fresh experience. Like, I didn't remember a lot of the middle at all. It was like watching a new movie, but I kind of knew where it was all going.
Yeah, I bet it's the same. I probably haven't watched it in 20 years, and I think I had seen it in like not seen it, but seen a scene from it in a film class, and then I was telling Sherry about it, and again, this like similar to Chris, this was one of my wife's favorite movies growing up. She was like, "Oh, you haven't seen it?" So we watched it together. And then this viewing, I think, was a very different experience than the first time I watched it. Yeah, I was going to say the corn nuts thing, too. I was going to go, I see you guys ruined it. I was going to go, I had corn nuts, but I didn't really have corn nuts. They were just roasted peanuts. I don't even really know what a corn nut is.
The drink was called a Big Blue Freeze. It was coconut cream liqueur, rum, pineapple juice, and blue...
Curacao.
Yeah, that word.
Sounds...
Blue curacao is this generic-y blue liquid, blue alcohol that they use to turn drinks blue. It's technically alcoholic, but, I mean, don't just drink that. It won't
Is
be
it
good.
Windex?
It's alcoholic Windex. Yeah.
Kind of like that cleaner that killed Red Heather.
That shit worked fast.
Yeah.
That was...
It must have just, like, burned her insides.
We'll get there. Let's see. So, Heathers was released in theaters on March 31st, 1989. It was distributed by New World Pictures. It was directed by Michael Lehman and written by Daniel Waters.
March 31st, 1989 is the same day the wall came down in Germany.
Hmm.
There might be a connection here.
There might be.
2 historic things on one day.
Lehman's other directorial works include several episodes of The West Wing and the movies Hudson Hawk and Airheads. Walter's other writing works include Batman Returns, Demolition Man, and Vampire Academy. The movie stars Winona Ryder, Christian Slater, Shannon Doherty, and the late Kim Walker. It tells the story of a young girl who falls in with the wrong crowd, then falls in with a way wronger boyfriend who turns out to be a murderous psychopath, which she's kind of okay with for a while.
Sure.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, it's about right.
So yeah, like I said, I had never seen this movie before. I was kind of under the impression that this was like Mean Girls, and it almost kind of sort of started that way. And then it took a lot of turns.
A lot of turns.
I'm not going to say I didn't like it, because I did. I enjoyed watching this movie. It was very strange. The way people reacted to things confused me. Like, when Christian Slater pulled the gun on those 2 kids, I didn't see that coming at all. And then it turned out that he shot blanks at them, and he didn't really get in trouble for that. They're like, they were blanks. Don't do it.
Cool.
It's
yeah,
cool.
I mean, it's
Don't
not,
do it again.
Yeah, come on, rope it in.
Like, I feel like, I mean, I know the 80s were a different time, but I feel like bringing an actual gun into a school and firing it at other kids is grounds for some sort of punishment.
So,
I think they said he got suspended.
yeah.
Oh, we got suspended?
Or I think they said he'll probably get suspended.
Right.
And then they just moved on.
Yeah, they did because there had to be a movie.
Like that. So the movie can happen.
So the movie could happen. Oh my God, I have so much to say about this movie, and I think a lot of it directly ties into exactly what you just said, Chris.
Okay.
I'll say this. I've wrestled with this movie for 24 hours. I watched it 24 hours ago, and it's been on my mind for 24 hours. And I've had a hard time figuring out if it was awful or amazing. And I think what I've landed on
is off-mazing.
Yes.
It's awfully amazing.
It's awfully amazing.
Amazingly off.
I think that, okay, so look, let me try to approach this in a somewhat linear way, because I think it might help. So the movie starts out with all four Heathers. I guess they're not all Heathers. 3 Heathers and a Veronica. All playing. What are they playing?
Croquet.
Croquet. Which, like, what kid anywhere plays croquet? You know
Every
what I mean?
kid in this area. Because they'd all come over and be like, "Oh, you want to shoot some croquet? I see you got croquet in the back here. Let's do it. It's just croquet."
But I mean, I think I think the production design, the costumes, each of the Heathers sort of having a color, and that corresponded with their croquet mallet and ball, and then that they sort of like highlight the shittiness of this group by them like stepping directly on these flowers and then off onto their the rest of their what they're doing, like kind of like sets the tone for this movie, because like nothing about it feels like reality. Like at one point, like we were watching the scene in the cafeteria where they were, where she's she writes the note to the fat girl, and and they're playing that awful prank on her, and then they're walking around and doing that poll and stuff like that, and like I paused it and I was like, none of these people talk like real teenagers. Like none of them are talking in a way that feels natural or realistic, right? Like I don't know how I expected it to be when they were teasing that girl, but like I think you expect some sort of, I don't know, teenage drama to unfold, right? Like, oh, you should do this. No, I don't want to. Well, if you don't, blah blah blah, I'm gonna do like kids are catty and they're weird, and like I think you expect it to unfold in some way that's more natural, but it was almost like people said their subtext out loud, like that it was like you're gonna play this prank on this girl. I don't want to. I don't have anything against her. You don't have anything for her. All right, well, why should I do it? Because you're friends with the popular people, and it's easier than being a loser. You know what I mean? Like they just stated
Their
out loud
motivations
their
and their-
motivation, and I was like, this seems so strange. But I think it had to like establish this weird surrealistic world, because otherwise you can't go on this journey where you at first identify Christian Slater's JD character as like the cool loner that's like dealing out cool justice, to like him being a straight up psychopath,
So the surreal word is definitely the correct word. It's a low key surreal. It's not Naked Lunch surreal, but it's the whole thing is just a little off of feeling real. And I kept thinking the whole time there's some sort of social commentary happening, not just the obvious like I mean, there's the obvious social commentary about like whatever Mean Girls or whatever that same thrust, but there's like another one that I feel like I'm missing. Like sometimes you watch a movie like Repo Man or something like that, where it's like they're being surreal in one direction on purpose, and the times when I felt it the most was when she interacted with her parents.
Yeah,
it was just not. It felt intentionally one step to the. I don't mean this in a political sense, but one step to the right. It wasn't just off center where like a little left, a little right. It was everything is one phase over to the right. Like, remember that show Dark Shadows? Is that what it was called? No, that was the soap opera Tales from the Dark Side, where they were like, imagine a world just like ours, but everything's just a little off.
Yeah,
in one direction. And the scenes with their parents, I'm sure there was some sort of purpose for it being like that.
So I think part of it was just establishing that nobody was going to behave the way that you expected them to, right? Like the stuff with her parents, you know, I don't think any parents and kids talk that way. You know, they were talking to her like she was a colleague. Are you going to go to this party? Are you going to do this? You know, and then the dad would be like, why do I read these spy novels, or why do I smoke these cigarettes? You know, and
because you're an idiot.
Yeah. You know, like no kid and parent talks that way. But I think that then paved the way for, you know, that scene. Well, all right, so let me lay out two things, right? I think with the parents, it directly like lays the groundwork for the scene where she pretends to kill herself and she's got the bed sheet wrapped around her and it looks like she's hanging, because that mom walks in and the mom doesn't freak out or scream or cry or grab her kid or anything. She goes, oh my God, should I have let you do this? Should I have let you do that? You know, like such a weird kind of humorous, like, you know, dark comedy, but like weird humorous reaction. And I think it needed to lay the seeds for that along the way, because otherwise you can't get behind Winona Ryder's character. Because Winona Ryder does the same thing when they kill the first Heather. Like, she drinks the blue stuff, she crashes through the coffee table, and they kind of set up that Winona Ryder didn't mean to kill her. She grabbed the wrong cup by accident. But Christian Slater definitely
did,
yeah, was like, oh, we're killing her, right? So they needed to try to make her not culpable throughout the movie so that she's the hero. But she kills her friend and isn't like, oh my God, call the ambulance, call, like any of the things you would do when someone died in front of you. She was just like, oh my God. I mean, I wanted to kill her, but I didn't want this.
So, I mean, they might give you an out with the first Heather, but then by the second one, like, she knows she's killing that guy. Like, she sits with the first body, like,
yeah, like
she thought
it was gonna be a blank, and then she shot her. It's like, wait a minute, this guy's dead. Mm-hmm. So I thought for sure she was shooting Christian Slater when she actually got the chance to shoot. But no, she shot and killed the other dudes so they could follow through with their plan of making everyone think they were gay.
Right.
Which, man, this movie hated gay people. But granted, it was the 80s. But
I don't agree. I think so
sorry, the characters in this movie hated gay people.
Oh, sure. The characters.
I don't think the movie actually hated gay people. I think that the characters in this movie were grotesque in their homophobia.
I think that was part of the dark humor of the movie. I think the movie realized that a little bit. Like,
I love my big gay son.
Well, I started cracking up when he talks about the gay artifacts that he's going to leave with the bodies. And it's like it starts out being like, you know, a gay porno mag, and then it ends up being like mineral water, you know. And like, I just thought it was so funny that it was like, we're gonna put things we're you know, like it was almost saying like they were almost in on the joke. Like, this town is so homophobic,
Right.
that they're gonna react to these other things.
Because the cop, as soon as they pulled the mineral out, was just like, "Oh, we got this figured out now."
Oh my gosh.
This movie was a ride. This was definitely a trip.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of landing on feeling like this movie was kind of amazing and kind of ahead of its time. Cause look, I don't think this movie was without problems. I think it had some issues.
For sure. It had some weird, there were some very strange pacing things,
Yeah.
and some really weird edits that were just like, I feel like there needed to be more connective tissue between these two scenes, but all in all, I chalk that up to filmmaking in the 80s.
Yeah, there was some pacing things. I mean, I think there was also some things that the movie thought out in a very smart way that you didn't expect. But the I think the reason why we all wrestle so much with this movie is because we live in a post-Columbine world. Like when this movie came out, we were like, what, 9 years old or something? Like we were not able to see and or appreciate this movie. We saw it later in life. And when we were the age that the kids in this movie were supposed to be, which I think I made a comment. I think I paused it and made a comment about that too while I was watching it, which was just that, like, a lot of them looked like 30-year-olds playing like 18-year-olds. Like, especially in the 80s, it was like hard to know how old women were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
like,
they're all wearing these
shoulder
poofy
pads.
they all
shoulder
have
pads.
big hair and shoulder pads, and you're like, cool, you could be 18 or like 35, and we don't know. But anyway, like, when, like, Columbine happened when we were in high school, we were the age that these people are now, or the age that these characters were in this movie, and like, like, watching it now, the moment Christian Slater pulls out that gun, you're like, it's over. He's the bad guy.
Right.
You know? But I really think that at the time that this came out, that they were really trying to gradually build this. Because I think in the beginning he does kind of come off as this cool loner James Dean kind of character. He's even called JD, and the last name is Dean, and that he's like the vengeance, not vengeance, but the comeuppance for the bullies and the snobby popular, emotional bullies, whatever, all the people in high school that you don't remember fondly, that, like, this guy is going to be, I think in the beginning you think he's going to be the hero, and I think they're really trying to lay that slowly for you to go like, oh my God, like, this guy's the devil.
A murderous psychopath, yeah.
Now, did Karen was she like what was her experience with this movie? Was she always like, oh, he's the bad guy, or like, did she grow up thinking Christian Slater? Because, like, Sherry told me when she was young, she didn't realize that he was the bad guy, because, like, Christian Slater's so charismatic, and like,
I was gonna say,
young girls are attracted to him.
When we were saying what's the problem with the, you were pointing out some nitpicking problems with the movie. I was gonna say they made Christian Slater the bad guy. You can't go making Christian Slater the bad guy. That movie's crap.
I thought Christian Slater was so good. Like, I thought his performance in particular was, like, so on point.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I've always liked Christian Slater. I think he's great and just about everything. No, I thought all the performances were good. I barely recognized Shannon Doherty. She's so freaking young. She's so tiny. And Winona Ryder is great. Karen's gonna come down and you can ask her.
Oh, okay.
because why not? She's
Sure.
here.
Yeah.
That's no, and I agree. All the performances were quite good in the movie. I mean, everybody acted it. Everybody acted it great. It was just the writing was so odd, but
The man on the street wants to know, Karen. Christian Slater.
Wait, how do we do this?
yeah,
Do we need to give Karen a
she'll
microphone?
take my mic.
Oh, okay.
Christian Slater.
Wait, no. We gotta ask. How about this? What was it that you liked about this movie as a kid?
I don't know. It just sort of became like a family in joke. Like my mother would quote it all the time, like "What's your damage?" that kind of thing.
Okay, it is highly quotable.
Yeah. I think it was like the satire of the, teenage stereotypes.
Was there any characters you particularly loved?
Veronica, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
so did you always know who the villain was, even
Yeah.
as a kid watching it? Okay,
Yeah, I think so.
all right,
I don't know. It was a long time ago.
all right. Well, now I feel like maybe you need to edit out. So Sherry liked this movie for Christian Slater.
Sure.
And then, she watched it later in life and was like, oh, he's the bad guy. But, he is super charismatic and, and young girls love Christian Slater.
And he starts out. I mean, it's the what do you call it? What type of hero is that? The
Anti-hero?
Right.
Yeah.
He starts out as the anti-hero, right?
Sure.
So and then where's that line? It gets blurry in comic books and TV shows all the time, right? When is the Punisher the bad guy and not the good guy anymore, right?
You either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
So yeah, but by the end it's easy. It's like, all right, he's become the bad guy. And in the beginning, when he pulls the gun on the two jocks and there's just blanks in it, I don't know. That seems like the good guy. He sees him picking on some people. He does this thing, takes a suspension, makes those two look like jackasses, right? Seems all right.
Well, if I'm remembering correctly, even some of the, and let's face it, it's not justice, it's flat out murder. But when it's framed as justice, it directly reflects some of the other thing that's been laid out in the movie. Because Chris, you said that it was, that oh, this town is so homophobic and blah, 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 right? But the justice he gives to those guys is directly related to them picking on those nerds and being like, you guys like to suck big cocks. Say you like to suck big, right? Those guys were homophobic. And he's like, all right, we're going to, this is.
And you know what? That first one, the first murder, he seems genuinely shocked after it. So, I know he knows it was poison, but he seemed a little shocked, too. Maybe he didn't think she was going to drink it. Maybe he didn't really think it was going to kill her. It was just going to make her throw up or whatnot. I don't know that he was totally in. I think that was his turning point. And then he was like, oh, we can just kill people.
I thought he was just playing along. I just assumed that he's been killing people for a while. And this is what he did in the other places, why he wound up moving around all the time. And so he was acting like that to try to calm her down. And then, just to be like, hey, murder's really not that bad. We should do it more often.
The movie lays some pretty good groundwork, like I'm saying. Some of the stuff that you don't think is important later comes back being important. For example, the dad, his dad who blows up buildings for a living is a demolition expert. I don't know. Seems to like his job a lot.
I think he's in construction.
Right. In construction, in air quotes. But yeah, I mean that obviously comes back when spoiler to the end, but where Christian Slater rigs the school to blow.
We're talking about this movie.
I know. I just like to
don't listen to this podcast if you haven't watched the movie.
To go
we're
in
talking
more of a,
about the movie,
linear way. But anyway, look, some of the stuff gets called back to in an intelligent way. But the first time I started questioning Christian Slater was the relationship with the dad, where they're all talking in the third person, and it's hey son, he's calling the dad's son, and the son's calling him dad, and
It's
they're
like they're trying to tell the other one what their line should be.
And they're like, no, and they're like saying things that they think that a loving father or a respectful son should say to each other. And like, I'm watching that scene, and like, there was some degree of humor to it, but I'm like, are these two fucking psychopaths? What is? It's like, turns out.
Then they kind of indicated that it was a little questionable. That they kind of indicated the dad may have killed the mother. She definitely committed suicide, but then at one point, Christian Slater was kind of insinuating that dad knew.
Yeah,
she was in the building.
Christian Slater made it sound like she chose to walk into that building and die because she knew that he was going to blow it up. But yeah, it does sound like the dad was complicit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like the relationships with the parents, the way the kids talk to each other, where I sort of talked about them saying their subtext and not really what kids would say. I think it all speaks to like nobody in this movie acted the way that you thought that they would act. And the other one that really stuck with me was the teachers. Like I thought that was one of the first scenes that I thought was laugh out loud funny, is that teacher's lounge where they're like, you know, they're thanks, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. That teacher's lounge where they're talking about all the you know, like they're all essentially bashing the Heather that they thought committed suicide. You know, and talking about like what all the kids are going to say and do. And there was that one teacher that was like, listen, we should let them talk about their feelings and we should get them together and we should, you know, have some sort of catharsis. And like, they were all like, you dirty hippie, you know, like they acted like she was a crazy person.
Like she wasn't even a cheerleader, half a day at most.
Right. When like, I feel like that teacher was saying the only thing that really would provide like healing and help for kids that knew somebody that died. But then even that lady wasn't the good guy. Like then she's involving the media and she's like sensationalizing the deaths.
Yeah, she's all chasing clout.
And at one point she even has this line that was a great line where she goes, deciding whether or not to kill yourself is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make.
The most important decision a teenager can make. Yeah, that was a good line. So this movie was made 40 years ago. I don't think they were painting her to be the good guy the first time. I think they were making fun of ridiculous hippies. Like I think they were throwing out jabs at whatever you want to say, the left and the right, right? Mm-hmm. So like these teachers that were like, oh, you know, half a day for a non-cheerleader or whatever. Like they were poking fun at them, but they were also poking fun at the touchy-feely ones. I don't think they were trying to make her the good guy in that scene. And then just to drive that point home later on, she goes off the deep end and she's like, look how great I am.
I just think a lot of the things about this movie were smart because nobody escapes unscathed. You know, the parents look bad, the teachers look bad, you know, they're all sort of lampooned in this weird stylized dark comedy way. But then like I think it was also really nuanced with the kids, you know, like you know, the stuff that Winona Ryder wrestles with, it's not it's hard to get behind because she's complicit in people's deaths, but it's literally like teenage problems, like do I go along with this or don't I, you know? And even the other people that died were sort of humanized in different ways, you know, like the awful Heather, like they go to that party together and she's, you know, she's kind of like debasing herself in front of these college guys, but it's like she's cool in high school, but then like out in the world she's as confused and, you know, messed up as everybody else.
Right.
Yeah, like she goes and blows that dude and she clearly didn't want to, and she clearly hated herself for it afterwards when she's spitting at herself in the mirror. It was like, yeah, there were these, I think that's why I didn't see the dark comedy vibes, like the whole murder thing coming, was because it was laying this groundwork for just kind of a more interest. not more interesting, just a very differently interesting approach at just being a more I don't know if realistic is the right word, because like the way that they would speak to each other, which is saying like, you know, fuck me gently with a chainsaw, like just super raunchy things that like, yeah, kids would probably say weird shit like that to each other when their parents aren't around. And I really appreciated that about this. I really appreciated that scene, the whole thing, what you're talking about with her seeming like she was awful. And then, like, she was also bullying the other Heathers into being more awful than they were, or at least it seemed that way.
Mm-hmm.
But then after Shannon Doherty took her place, she went right to being as awful.
Yeah.
Like, I had this expectation from the first chunk of the movie that if that Heather was gone, she would be free to not be an awful person. But it was the exact opposite. It was like, once she wasn't under her thumb, she's like, cool, now I can be that awful.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of interesting character studies like that, of like how these different people reacted to these different situations. And I really did love, and I know it was kind of played for laughs, but I really did love that the dad of the dead kids was just like, I don't give a shit if he was gay, he was my son. And it was like, it was played for laughs, but at the same time, it was like, especially in, what was it, 84, 80, 87 or 85, 89. Like, at that point, to just be like, fuck it, he was my son, that's all I care about, and I'm sad that he's dead, and I'm proud of him. Like, I thought that was a really, really cool moment, and a very interesting thing to happen in this movie.
Yeah.
Which was very strange.
I did like the line from Christian Slater. He was like, "Football season's over. They have nothing left to give the school."
Yeah, Shannon Doherty, the green Heather, who was green with envy over the red Heather, who was the lead Heather. I guess I felt like the other Heather didn't get a ton of development.
Well, she had the whole thing where she tried to kill herself.
Was she a yellow
She was
Heather?
yellow. She
Yeah.
tried to kill herself, and she was more there for part of Veronica's development, where you see Veronica start to pull back from the Christian Slater arc.
I just felt like the lead Heather and Shannon Doherty's Heather were like really had very clearly defined things, and I felt like the other Heather was just there because if you have two Heathers, it's just a coincidence. But if you have three Heathers, then you got a group of Heathers.
And it's a party.
Yeah.
No, I thought the whole thing with her trying to kill herself was, I thought the point of that was trying to put a realistic spin on, or at least a realistic spotlight on what it would be like for a non-crazy person to be in this environment where, you know, they've tried to sort of glorify suicide at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so other kids start thinking, that's my way out. So like when the fat girl walked into traffic and when she tried to take all those pills, it was like, okay, so Christian Slater's murder spree is actually having a psychological negative effect on everyone around them through this glorification of suicide, which is, again, this is a dark comedy, but it's also like looking at this pretty serious thing through a lens of like, and I'm glad that she didn't die there. I'm glad that, you know, Winona Ryder got there in time, because it's like, I don't know, it's one of those things that happens where overdramatic young people think suicide is the answer, and especially when other people, when it starts happening around them, like, I don't know what it would be like to be around a rash of suicides, but I don't know, it was just an interesting thing to watch.
So I think that's a thing. Like, they don't report that, right? Because I think when they do, there's an uptick.
What are you talking about?
I think I remember reading that in something. And now I just don't have enough nouns or verbs to complete a thought here. But I think they don't report a lot of suicides, because when they do, you end up with an uptick in suicides.
Oh, I see.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think they like make a purpose. I mean, obviously with celebrities or whatever, it's hard to, you know, whatever, that is what it is. But like in general, they just don't report it. They died in their home.
Yeah. I look. I think the movie was really interesting in a lot of ways, and I think it had something to say about, you know, the kind of person and the kind of personality that Christian Slater was before, you know, before we knew what a threat that was in schools and things like that. Like this movie would never get made now, but I'm really glad that it got made when it did. Like I'm glad that this was a movie that we could watch. You know, I also think that while it had its problems and that sometimes it was hard to get behind the darkness of the humor, I think the movie was as good as it could be. And I do think that the way it ended and the endings that people got were great, because I went on IMDb and I read an alternate ending for this.
Where he does blow up.
I think there's an alternate ending where he does blow up the school. There's also an alternate ending where Winona Ryder goes up to the fat girl. What's her name? Martha Dump.
They kept calling her Dump Truck.
Martha
the whole time.
Dump Truck. Where she
sure that's
goes
not
up
it.
to Martha Dump Truck and is like, "Hey, do you wanna come over on prom night and watch a movie or whatever?" And Martha Dump Truck stabs her and goes, "Fuck you, Heather." And then as she's dying on the floor, she's like, "I'm not a Heather." And I was like, that's really dark. But also, I think the movie got the right ending. Like, I think the movie ended the way it should end. Like,
It's like the original ending of Clerks.
I think
Oh yeah.
I
But you
think
see-
Martha Dump Truck should have some, you know, should have some kind of happy end. She was the only one that was legitimately miserable. You know?
So I kind of like. Well, I mean, they were all miserable. I mean,
They were.
Even
all.
Shannon Doherty's character at the beginning, she's like anorexic. They reference,
There was
and
a-
she's being used.
There was a lot of non-consensual sex in that movie.
Well, sure. I kind of like the Martha Dump Truck stabbing her at the end, whereas I don't like it in Clerks, because Clerks, this was a dark comedy that just kept getting dark.
Yeah.
Right? It just kept doing weirder and weirder things that were off center. So, like, to give us the happy ending, I know Christian Slater just blew himself up and Winona Ryder's still wearing pieces of him while this is happening. But then that last scene is like they tacked on a thumbs up, it's going to be okay. Don't actually kill yourself, kids. It's all going to work out. Which I guess is a good message, but to put a PSA at the end of this this spiral of shit seems a weird move. So I don't know. I think they could have just upped it another notch and been like, "This is what we've been doing the whole time. We killed that girl. You weren't ready for it. That chick drank the blue thing and hit that table hard. It was jarring.
Yeah.
Jar us one more time. We didn't see Martha Dump Truck coming with the knife.
The movie's so dark and surreal, it is really hard to know, like, which is the right move. But, like, I like the way that it ended, and I liked, you know, I think because Christian Slater's arc, while we all was like, you know, from the minute he pulled that gun, we were like, he's clearly crazy. But I think because it was tended to be such a gradual thing and he played it so well, I think then it was a cool ending where she almost became like the action star, you know, like she's covered in soot and, you know, lighting up a cigarette and stuff. Like I like the ending that we got. I like that she had the take charge thing and she's like, I can be the lead, Heather. You know, I can wear the red scrunchie and like still be a, you know, not be a bitch, you know. Yeah, I struggled with this movie for 24 hours, but I think all in all I really liked it.
I still feel like tomorrow Friday,
Tomorrow's
Saturday,
Friday.
I'm gonna wake up, drink my coffee, and be like, let me find out what that movie was actually about. And there's gonna be a real simple answer, like, this was social commentary on. Is gonna be something real specific. Like, oh, I missed that shit entirely.
It was all about walruses the entire time. Yeah, no, I liked it.
Yeah, it's
I'm
good
glad
movie.
I've seen it. It's
Worth
an
the watch.
important cultural touchstone, and now I'm in on it. I'm in on the joke.
Yeah, I'm looking through my notes. I wrote about Christian Slater climbing through her window. I thought that was creepy. Although, like,
Was this the first time that happened? Like, how far back does that trope go?
I don't know. Like, they used to do that in Clarissa Explains It All.
Right.
And then I remember there became a point where there was literally an episode where like they, I think they had like gone through puberty and everything, and he's like, I shouldn't climb through your window anymore, huh? And she's like, nah, let's not do that.
I've always wondered about that. It happens a lot in movies. I've always grown up, maybe it's a New Jersey thing, but everywhere I've always grown up, there were screens on the windows.
Sure.
But like anytime you see, like, people are always opening windows and there's no screens. Or like people can just like climb into windows.
Sometimes you have those screens that lift up like the windows.
Yeah, but like there's none of that. It's just
Right.
not screens. It's just you open up a window and it's the outside.
Maybe because we live so close to the bay, that's not an option.
Yeah, like that's the question. Are windows elsewhere in the country?
You're just in Kansas, write us.
Yeah.
Do you need screens, or is it just cool?
I'd like to know.
I wrote a note about the funerals. I thought, and like, clearly the last funeral was a dream. But like, I thought the funerals got funnier, and I liked that. Because what was the...
Why was that last section a dream, I wonder? Because, like, we'd already gone super dark, so why did we have to pull back on that one? I know it just sounds like I'm pushing this movie to be darker and darker, but, like, it was so surreal and so over the top. That last segment...
Zack Snyder's Heathers.
Yeah.
That last segment ended up being a dream, and I was just like, why did the movie do... Like, they could
That
have...
was the thing that sort of slowed the action down for me.
That could have just been real, and that third Heather could have taken over and become the evil mega bitch.
Or they could have... The dream funeral was supposed to be the Shannon Doherty funeral, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have made it the other Heather, because I think it's better when she steals the thing back from the envious Heather at the end. But yeah, that why we've already killed
Three people.
Why stop there?
Right. Why not the fourth?
Yeah,
This is too far?
I don't know.
Why is this
That
too far?
sentence taken out of context is a little
Concerning
We've
Paul
already-
and Sean think if they
we've
kill
already
three,
killed
might
three
as well hit the
people.
gas
Let's just
pedal.
keep killing them.
The funerals were so funny though. I mean, the first one where they each come up to the casket and they're like saying the weird thing that's in their head, like
Right.
And the football player guy was like, "Why'd you have to kill such a hot piece of ass?" "Oh, I didn't mean that, but I kind of did, God." and then the second funeral, Sean already said, or both of you already said how much the line about "I love my dead gay son" stuck with you. But like, I just also thought it was so funny that they're two caskets side by side, both of them in their football gear,
helmets with
with the
footballs on them.
on them. Like, that cracked me up. So then I maybe it just had to be a dream, the last one, to make it so over the top, because like I loved
Everyone
how
dressed like an Eskimo.
yeah, I loved how the priest, who was the guy from Beetlejuice, which was another weird Winona Ryder tie-in there, but how that guy was like Eskimo. She underlined this word. It made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
Well, I'm tapped out.
There was more stuff with I think the literary references too, right? Because the first Heather was reading like Sylvia Plath or something, who committed suicide, and I think that was where Christian Slater was like, oh, let's make it look like a suicide. But then I
missed
thought
that entirely.
But like, she wasn't really reading the book; she was reading like the Cliff Notes or something. Like, it was the Cliff Notes on the floor.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And then with the other Heather, the underlining stuff in Moby Dick, like, I guess, like, I don't know what, like, popularity is her white whale, or being the head Heather is her white whale.
You're trapped inside this symbolist tome. I don't know. I don't know why that was relevant. Again, I feel like I missed something there.
Yep. I think we covered the rest of my notes.
All right. in
right.
general, we say go ahead and watch Heathers.
Yeah, thumbs up. It's weirder than I thought. It's not the movie I expected at all.
If it comes to a theater near you, definitely go see it there. Because I think on the big screen, no, none of this is true. It's fine on the small screen.
Hey, this page in my phone that I wrote these notes on, now that I deleted all my notes from this movie because we just went through them, I'm looking at the other notes that I wrote, and it's everybody's birthday so that we can have that communist birthday club.
Oh, yeah.
Outstay. Oh, no, outstay. Acceptable.
Acceptable birthday to you.
Oh no, my friend Kari, who listens to this, is going to be mad because she was in my other communist birthday club. And
You're
now
out,
she's gonna
Kari.
be like,
We don't know you.
You can
Yeah.
have multiple communist birthday party clubs.
Kari, I'm going to get together with other people on days that are not their birthday and celebrate collective birthdays, just like communism.
Fantastic. All right, well, I guess it's time for us to do our votey thing.
No.
Okay. Well then, good night, everybody. All right, who wants to go first? I haven't gone first in a while. I'll go first. So this one, I feel like we talked about this a little bit around when it came out, but it's been a while, and I would like to not just talk about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, but also do a overall Indiana Jones. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing a marathon.
Oh, you're trying to play the marathon card.
We all get marathon cards. I was more saying, like, I would also like to do a ranking. I would like to know what everyone's, now that the movie's been out for a year and change, what is everyone's actual final ranking
Don't
on the
answer.
Indiana Jones
Don't-
movies?
I see your
No,
eyes.
I'm not going to answer.
Don't
I'm
answer
just
now.
rethinking the rules. Maybe there's only one marathon card per 26 letters, and it's
Whoever gets to it first.
yeah, whoever gets to it first. Like if we
No.
vote for it.
No, I like movie marathons too much to limit to one per year.
I'm fine
If
with
there's a
movie marathon.
proper excuse to do a movie marathon, I'm fucking in.
I think I'm just acknowledging that it is selfish of me to act like it's my card to play. like you're suggesting a thing that denotes a marathon. Perhaps you are playing the marathon card.
We all have the
this
card.
26 letter.
And next month, when I make us watch every James Bond movie, we'll know how painful it actually is.
So yeah, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, with the side order of, at the very least, coming up with our overall Indiana Jones rankings, not including Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, because I will not watch that again.
All right. Well, that is easy.
a bad show.
I could do that.
Oh.
It was a bad show, and it should feel bad for itself.
I could do it without a marathon, but yes, sure, I can. Yeah,
Yeah, like I could do it without a marathon too,
mm-hmm.
but as I'm saying it,
I could do it.
I'm
right
going to
now.
watch all those
I could
movies.
I just watched Last Crusade a few days ago,
I'm not going to watch
and I'm
all
not.
those movies.
I'd be fine with watching all of them again, no question.
All
With
right.
or without you fuckers.
You want me to go? Or?
I'll go. I got a real shit.
Sure, great.
Yes, that's the letter.
You can do it, Sean.
So, I don't know if you guys have both seen this. I've talked about it. Have you both seen the item?
The
Which
item?
item?
No.
Just called the item. I think this was a Jed
Was it
Gredham
not?
special.
Was it in a box?
Boy.
It was.
Really?
Do you know the
Is
movie?
it shiny?
No.
I don't know. I'm just making weird jokes. I don't know this movie at all.
Came out in 1999. It is available on YouTube. I checked for free.
Indiana Jones is on Disney Plus.
We got this from Video Depot. I want to say Jed or maybe Chung. And we watched this. And when I watched the preview today, it said a Cannes Film Festival Select or something. This was the biggest piece of shit movie there ever was. Like, I mean, way worse than Plan 9.
You're really selling me on it.
I know. When I tell you transvestite ninja hookers raping no-eyed alien shrimp, I mean transvestite ninja hookers raping no-eyed alien shrimp who may or may not be controlling people with their minds. The shrimp, not the hookers.
Oh, shit.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sex.
Well, that was Paul's pick too, right?
Damn it. Back to the drawing board.
If nothing else, if we don't pick mine, I do suggest you watch the preview. It's only a minute long. And then look at the cover of the box, because you're not going to see the no-eyed alien shrimp with the penis tail, unless you look at the box.
All right. Well, I think in my head I was going back and forth between a bad movie and a good movie, and after Sean explained that, I'm gonna lean into the thing that I think is a good movie. So my pick is gonna be The Imposters. So I know I want to be clear about this because there's probably like 5 movies called Imposter or The Imposter or
You said this is a good movie.
I liked it.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's probably been 10 years since or 20 years since I've seen it, but I remember finding it fun. I don't know what I would get on a rewatch if I would feel the same, but it has Stanley Tucci in it and Oliver Platt, and they are both sort of down on their luck, washed up actors who end up being stowaways on a cruise boat. So yeah, that's my pick.
You're always pushing Tucci on us. I swear to God.
Yeah.
No, he's pretty good.
Wow, yeah, there's a lot of Imposters movies.
I found it.
What year?
98?
Sure.
That was it?
Sounds right.
Sure.
So hopefully I like it. Hopefully it can be a
Hopefully you like it. You just said you like it.
Hopefully I did like it, but I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Hopefully it is a theatrical movie that can wash the bad taste of Asteroid City out of the mouth of this particular group. How's that? If we choose it.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
Well,
God, we got to text stuff.
red leader standing by.
Gold leader standing by.
Blue leader standing by.
And go.
No time.
All right.
The Imposters.
All right.
Imposters it is. All right. Well, there you go, everybody. That is your homework for next month is The Imposters.
I feel bad. I voted for the garbage movie that Sean just said.
I know. Which means the item got a vote over Indiana Jones. Let me tell you what sentence should never be said again. The
And I-
item got a vote
I
over
was proposing an
Jones.
Indiana Jones marathon.
And I love Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones.
Love it.
And part of me is sad that I voted for Sean's garbage movie. But I think it's really highlighting how much it's hard for me to talk about the new Indiana Jones movies over the old Indiana Jones movies.
Well, now I
I'll
want to have
do
that
it.
conversation.
I'll do it someday if you want me. We could go through the alphabet and then we could do Indiana Jones since we didn't do it at I. I know that this is important to you, Chris, but you have to understand that I'm a diehard for the Holy Trilogy, and even that, the middle one is garbage.
I'm right there.
We've talked about this. The middle one's great.
I that's what I'm saying. I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I didn't see. I actually missed the beginning of Dial of Destiny. We were late to the theater, so I still haven't seen the beginning of that movie. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're watching The Imposters.
All right.
Imposters it is.
There it is. All right. And with that, Theater Near You is a part of the Geekade Podcast Network. And if you'd like to get in touch with us to share your comments, movie suggestions, or whatever, you can send us an email at mail@geekade.com. We can also be found on most social media outlets and the official Geekade Discord server, all of which can be found in our show notes. If you'd like early access to this podcast and several others on the Geekade Podcast Network, check out the Geekade Patreon, linked to in the show notes. It helps keep this show running and our site shiny and clean. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time in a theater near you.
Hit me out. It's the only way you'll win.
Is that a Heather's quote?
I don't know.
Okay.